Obama went into a visible rage as Pam Bondi stepped forward and exposed the dark underbelly of the Clinton Foundation, revealing layers of privilege and corruption rooted in $6 million worth of shady financial transactions, with foreign donations being funneled into a hidden account of foundation, cloaked in lies, while an entire nation remained blind to its inner workings. Internal emails from Clinton Foundation activated what was called a containment protocol. The room grew quiet as Bondi faced the committee, her voice unwavering and clear. She revealed that the email in question was sent on the night of July 25th, just a day after the Clintons' personal chef Tafari Campbell was found dead under suspicious circumstances at their Martha's Vineyard estate. This email, she explained, was not a condolence or routine response, but a calculated directive to conceal a truth already slipping into the shadows. Within hours of Campbell's death, millions of dollars began shifting through offshore accounts. $2.2 million wired to a London advisory firm on the same day, followed by another $1.8 million routed through a Delaware LLC the next day, and then $3 million wired to a Zurich-based entity on July 28. The audience stirred in disbelief. The figures were not just numbers, they were damning evidence of wrongdoing. Bondi made it clear this was no legitimate charity work. It was not about empowering communities. It was about escape. This was flight. Money tangled in legal jargon meant to hide its origin. The next slide projected an internal audit of the Clinton Foundation, revealing grotesque mismanagement. Funds claimed for community programs were spent on luxury events, helicopter rides masked as strategic planning, were in truth elaborate family vacations. Her voice remained calm, but her words thundered across the chamber. The Clinton Foundation was not a charity. It was a laundering machine for wealth, influence, and political dominion. Then came the moment that sent shockwaves through the room. A sealed envelope passed the committee chair, opened by Bondi with deliberate force. It contained the whistleblower testimony of Evelyn Stokes, the former chief operating officer of the foundation, who had once orchestrated its daily operations, but now stood against it. Bondi read aloud Stokes' chilling confession. She was ordered to reclassify millions in discretionary accounts to fund personal travel, high-end goods, and political ventures, all disguised as philanthropic efforts. When she refused, she was terminated. Gasps echoed throughout the room. The weight of her testimony was unbearable, undeniable. The fraud no longer speculative, but fact. Bondi turned to Hillary Clinton, who sat motionless, her expression unreadable. Mrs. Clinton, she said, her voice loud and commanding, this is not speculation anymore. This is sworn testimony from your own trusted executive. What do you have to say? Clinton stared ahead, her silence more deafening than a thousand screams, and then the final blow was delivered. A video played overhead from a drone circling the Hillary Clinton Presidential Center in Chicago, once hailed as a symbol of legacy and leadership. It was now crumbling. Cracks split the concrete, exposed rebar hung like skeletal remains of a once grand dream. Water damage disfigured the structure. It stood there not as a monument to progress, but as a tomb to secrets. Bondi's voice rose as she pointed to the decaying edifice. This, she proclaimed, is not history, preserved it as truth entombed. But even this spectacle was outmatched by what came next. The screen shifted. Images of opulent jewelry, lavish items from Saudi Arabia and Turkey, officially logged as Clinton Foundation exhibits, yet unmistakably worn by the Clintons at private parties, high-profile galas, and elite gatherings. The truth was unavoidable. The foundation's purpose was never to serve the poor, but to enrich. The powerful Congresswoman Alicia Vega leaned into her microphone and, with visible disbelief, asked the one question on everyone's mind: will you consent to a full independent audit? Mrs. Clinton again silence, and then the gavel dropped. The historic decision made by unanimous consent to refer the Clinton Foundation for federal investigation for fraud, obstruction, and betrayal of public trust. Outside, protesters stood in silence, some with signs asking where's the money, others watching screens broadcasting the hearing live, their expressions a mix of sorrow and vindication. Pam Bondi ended the session with words that would echo across Capitol Hill. This is not about partisanship. This is about justice. If our institutions fail to seek it, then the people. Her final sentence marked the beginning of a new chapter. As the gavel fell, and history was etched into the foundation of a restless nation. In the days that followed, America shook to its core. The media ran footage of Bondi's closing again and again, while social media surged with fury and purpose. Hashtags like Clinton Foundation scandal and accountability now trended across every platform. Millions, once numb to the endless tide of political deceit, now surged with righteous anger, demanding exposure, transparency, and retribution. Bondi soon held a press conference with Patel at her side. She spoke not with fury, but with the calm determination of a woman who knew the storm was far from over this investigation. She declared as not. Complete, what we have found is merely the surface. We will pursue every audit, every contract, and every email that has ever touched the Clinton Foundation. And then Patel, usually a silent figure, stepped forward to play his part in what was now a national reckoning. The investigation had been pivotal in piecing together a financial puzzle that had eluded watchdog for years. And now Patel stood before the nation promising that no stone would be left unturned. Every transaction, every backdoor deal, every questionable wire would be brought to light, while he spoke with conviction. The fallout on the Clinton side was accelerating. Hillary Clinton's legal team was scrambling. Leaks were pouring out, revealing a flood of resignations from within the Clinton Foundation. One resignation letter addressed to the foundation's board contained only a single haunting sentence: "I can no longer defend the indefensible." The walls were closing in on Hillary Clinton. Her longtime ally Elizabeth Warren initially tried to shield her labeling the inquiry a witch hunt, but that defense crumbled when damning emails emerged linking Warren's office directly to top executives within the foundation. The American people were no longer in the dark. They were wide awake and growing restless, demanding answers, demanding justice, and most of all, demanding accountability. The air around Capitol Hill was thick with tension. As the echoes of the gavel still hung in the air, reporters, whispered, cameras clicked, and everyone knew the hearing was only just beginning. Pam Bondi wasted no time. She moved with precision that cut through the political theater and zeroed on the heart of the Clinton machine. The projector flickered to life, revealing stacks of documents, hundreds of pages of emails, records, and audits. Bondi's voice rang out. The Clinton Foundation, she said, was a shell game, a massive facade to move money out of the public. I enriched the Clintons and protect their empire, all at the taxpayers' expense. She pointed to a breakdown of suspicious transactions displayed on the screen. First, on July 25th, the same day the Clinton team began wiping communications in the wake of Tafari Campbell's mysterious death, $2.2 million was wired to a London-based advisory firm. Deleted emails, vanished staff, reassigned within hours. It was a cover-up in real time. A room was dead silent. Bondi moved to the next figure. On July 26th, another $1.8 million was routed through a Delaware LLC, a well-known tax haven. Why Delaware? She asked why the secrecy. Then came the next blow. On July 28th, $3 million moved into a Zurich-based financial firm. Bondi looked up, her voice sharp. Do you call this charity, or do you call it money laundering operation? No one dared to speak. This was not political rhetoric. These were hard numbers, undeniable evidence, and Patel stepped forward to build on it. His calm but piercing voice outlined what followed Campbell's death. Internal systems of the foundation went into overdrive, scrubbing records, deleting surveillance tapes, dismantling paper trails. A complex network of foreign donors began funneling cash through multi-layered LLCs, and fake calls. The projector now displayed a series of images, invoices, receipts, transfers that painted a damning picture. Luxury items, private jet expenses, high-end vacations, all disguised as nonprofit spending. Bondi raised her hand again. What they didn't count on was us. Her words cut through the chamber, and then she dropped what she called the ultimate coup de grace. Hillary Clinton's personal financial records were projected on screen in full color. There was her private bank statement, laced with wire transfers from undisclosed foreign sources, some from high-ranking donors tied to foreign governments, all buried under the label of speaking fees. The dates aligned with foundation activity, the amounts lined up with donor schedules. The truth was undeniable. Hillary Clinton had been using the Clinton Foundation as a personal ATM, and it didn't stop with her. Bondi's final blow came in the form of a document pulled from Barack Obama's post-election files, dated just 2 weeks after the 2016 election. It outlined a rebranding plan for the Obama Foundation. The language and financial structuring eerily mirrored the Clinton Foundation. Bondi's gaze scanned from Clinton to Obama and finally to the stunned committee members, and then she revealed a final piece of joint email communication between Obama's office and Clinton Foundation. It was a clear line of coordination, not just two former administrations, but two sprawling financial networks bonded by secrecy and protected by silence. The hearing room didn't move. The silence was heavy, electric. Everyone knew in that moment they weren't just looking at a scandal. They were staring down a historical reckoning that could shatter the political establishment from the inside out. Cross-collaboration between the Clinton Foundation and the Obama Foundation had one unified goal: to secure massive streams of foreign funding and private grants under the guise of civic betterment. But the numbers told a different story. In just the last 2 years alone, over $80 million have been transferred between the two foundations. And yet many of the so-called civic projects that these funds were earmarked for were either incomplete, abandoned, or never even initiated. This is no longer a case of political corruption. Bondi said, her voice now thunderous. This is a systemic abuse of power. Two of the most powerful political figures in modern American history working hand in hand, not to uplift the disadvantaged, but to expand their own personal empires while standing behind podiums preaching about justice, equality. And the poor Patel then stepped forward, laying the final piece of the puzzle on the table projector screen behind him. Change once more, revealing a full independent audit of the Clinton Foundation's contractors. What emerged was a pattern that could not be explained away. The foundation had consistently overpaid contractors with known ties to foreign entities, and more disturbingly, to political power players in China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. This, Patel declared as he pointed toward the screen, is influence buying on a scale we have never seen before in the history of American politics. Bondi now turned toward the committee, her voice steady and sharp. These are not opinions. These are not speculations. These are hard financial records showing beyond any doubt that the Clintons used their foundation as a personal slush fund, and Barack Obama did not just turn a blind eye. He helped enable and protect their illicit operation. Then came the moment that shook the chamber to its core. An email dated October 5th, 2022 was projected onto the screen, sent directly from Barack Obama's office to Hillary Clinton. The message was brief, but its intent was impossible to misinterpret. We must protect our legacy at all costs. It read, fundraisers must be positioned to secure foreign donors for upcoming international projects. The public must not see this as a for-profit venture. Bondi's expression was like stone as she read aloud the final chilling line from the email. The people must not know the truth. Let's make sure we're one step ahead. The room erupted in stunned disbelief. Gasps, whispers, and the sound of pens falling onto desks filled the air. This wasn't just about stolen money. This was about preserving political dynasties at the expense of democracy. This was about control. This was about silencing the truth so that the elite could thrive in secrecy. Bondi raised her voice again. This is the real cost of unchecked power. This is what happens when our leaders use the very systems meant to serve the people to shield themselves from accountability. Patel stepped forward again and reminded everyone of the lies the public had been sold while the foundations funneled millions into shadowy entities. Americans were told the money was being used for education, healthcare, community growth. But once the layers were peeled back, all they found was greed, ambition, and betrayal. Bondi addressed the committee once more with a passion that now felt like a final verdict. This is not just another scandal. This is a collapse of public trust. The American people have been betrayed by those they were told to admire and believe in. The room went completely still. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone present. It was undeniable. This hearing was no longer just an inquiry. It was a reckoning. Outside the Capitol, crowds had already begun to swell. News reports dominated the airwaves with one headline after another. Clinton Foundation exposed Obama involvement. Revealed. The nation was stunned, and it was only the beginning. The investigations were now entering their most intense phase, and the American people were hungry for truth. But a deeper question echoed across the country. How far would the revelations go, and who would be the next to follow? The story was only just beginning. Capitol